The mystery surrounding unidentified flying objects, now rebranded as Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, has proven remarkably resilient. Despite recurring claims that the phenomenon is outdated or debunked, interest reliably surges whenever new sightings, videos, or official acknowledgements emerge. Far from fading, the topic continues to demand attention from the public, scientific communities, and even national governments. A pivotal moment in the modern UAP narrative occurred in 2017, with the revelation that the United States had secretly funded a $22 million program known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. This disclosure was accompanied by videos recorded by US Navy pilots, which appeared to capture unidentified craft performing extraordinary aerial maneuvers beyond what is currently possible with known human technology. This revelation revives serious public and governmental interest in the subject. Following this, the terminology shifted from UFOs to UAPs, signaling a broader investigative focus. Congressional hearings followed, where lawmakers took seriously the possibility that some of these phenomena could be of non-terrestrial origin. In response, the Pentagon established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, tasked with investigating and reporting on UAPs. NASA also initiated a separate study, concentrating specifically on aerial phenomena. Scientists such as Kevin Knuth, Robert Powell, and Peter Reilly, members of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, have provided compelling arguments in support of the phenomenon's credibility. In a 2019 paper, they highlighted reports of structured craft with flight characteristics deemed impossible by conventional physics. These craft reportedly achieved accelerations ranging from 100 to several thousand G-forces, yet exhibited no physical air disturbance, sonic booms, or thermal emissions. The authors suggested that such behavior could either be the result of serious observational error or evidence of technologies far more advanced than anything currently known. In fact, they asserted that the flight dynamics observed would be consistent with interstellar travel. These conclusions echo earlier superstitions, dating back to the modern dawn of UFO interest in 1947, when pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing flying saucers over Washington state. This incident spurred fears of foreign weapons or extraterrestrial surveillance, prompting the US Air Force to establish Project Sign. An internal document known as the Estimate of the Situation concluded that some sightings could represent interplanetary craft, though this report was never publicly released. A 1952 Life magazine article reviewed hundreds of Air Force reports and supported the idea that observed objects were artificial and operated by a highly intelligent force. It quoted Dr. Walther Riedel, a German rocket engineer, who pointed out that the speeds and maneuvers attributed to these craft would render any known materials or human pilots incapable of survival. Furthermore, the lack of visible propulsion suggested an unknown form of energy. Despite these provocative conclusions, Project Sign was soon replaced by Project Grunge and later Project Blue Book, initiatives with a more debunking-oriented agenda. Their goal was to reduce public anxiety and ensure that military communication systems weren't overwhelmed by false alarms, which could be exploited by adversaries. The absence of sustained governmental transparency, civilian researchers took over. Among them was Donald E. Kehoe, a former Marine pilot and vocal advocate for official disclosure. Through his National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, Kehoe tried to pressure the government into admitting the reality of extraterrestrial visitation. However, he found himself caught between governmental skepticism and fantastical accounts from self-proclaimed contactees who claim to have met and traveled with space beings. Kehoe was critical of these crackpots, believing that their wild stories undermined the credibility of more serious research. Even within the scientific study of UAPs, a tendency has emerged to exclude data that appears too bizarre or difficult to quantify. The late Charles Bowden, editor of Flying Saucer Review, recalled a case where an investigator dismissed a highly unusual witness account, only to later encounter a remarkably similar, independently corroborated case. Such examples demonstrate how rigid scientific objectivity can sometimes hinder the full exploration of the phenomenon. When Project Blue Book closed in 1969, its final report declared that no UFO represented a national security threat, and no sightings provided evidence of advanced or extraterrestrial technology. The British Ministry of Defence has generally echoed this conclusion, as NASA and the AARO resume formal investigations. Many wonder if these new efforts will bring genuine breakthroughs or simply reiterate familiar denials. Civilian interest, however, never waned. By the 1970s, reports of alien abductions gained traction, marking a shift from the contactee narratives of the 1950s. Abductees often described traumatic experiences aboard strange craft, but like the contactees, they frequently relayed warnings from the aliens about humanity's destructive path. These stories added a darker, more complex layer to the phenomenon. Public fascination was further fueled by media, especially film, though earlier sci-fi movies typically portrayed flying saucers with low-budget effects and simplistic plots. Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind transformed the genre. It presented a nuanced, visually compelling story that touched on government secrecy, telepathic communication, abduction, and the now iconic grey aliens. The film left a lasting cultural imprint, reinforcing the idea of extraterrestrial visitors as technologically superior, yet potentially benevolent. While some researchers remain committed to the extraterrestrial hypotheses, others have turned to alternative models. Paranormal theorists explore connections to psychic or interdimensional phenomena, while new UFOologists from the 1970s introduced the psychosocial hypotheses. This approach sees UFO experiences as culturally influenced psychological events shaped by folklore, mass media, and personal belief systems. As Peter Rogerson, a leading figure in the movement, suggested, such events might be better understood as modern myths, rumors, and social panics structured around the image of the flying saucer. Despite the variety of theories, no single explanation can fully account for the diversity and persistence of UAP reports. Some investigators, like the author of Portraits of Alien Encounters, have sought to document even the most unusual and controversial cases, believing that too many significant experiences are dismissed as the ramblings of crackpots. As scholar Hilary Evans has noted, dismissing these witnesses outright serves neither science nor understanding. In fact, studying such reports might yield insights not only into the UAP mystery, but into the workings of the human mind itself. Originally published in 1990, Portraits of Alien Encounters offered a snapshot of British UFOlogy, particularly in northern England. The updated version includes more recent and relevant cases, highlighting the continued variety and depth of UAP experiences. Rather than forcing these accounts into a single explanatory framework, the work presents them in the participants' own words, honoring their complexity and ambiguity. Whether rooted in outer space, inner consciousness, or social myth, the UAP phenomenon endures. It challenges science, culture, and imagination alike, and for now remains one of the great unanswered questions of our time. Step beyond the stars and into the lives of real people who have come face to face with the unknown. In Paranormal Perspectives, veteran UFO researcher Nigel Watson opens a window into the rich and unsettling world of alien encounters across the UK, not through speculation, but the words of ordinary individuals who have experienced the extraordinary. From glowing lights in the sky to eerie visitations by otherworldly beings, this book unearths stories that challenge our understanding of reality. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, or somewhere in between, this book is a gripping exploration of how modern UFO experiences are deeply intertwined with our personal and cultural psyche. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe and follow for future content, and we will see you next time.